Welcome to Trek Table, your live stream ritual.
Holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies.
Hey, what's up? I'm your host, Dayla, and today I'm holding Trek space for Burnham and Book #couple goals right in front of all 60 of those member Federation planets and their guests. Oh, and Zora has dreams!
And I am your co-host, Claudia, and today I am holding Trek space and empathy for unexpected cat sitters.
Ooh, yes. Hi, I am your co-host, Maia Mama, and I'm holding Trek space for being sure of your convictions.
Well, hello. I am Rose Portillo. I am your guest, and I am holding Trek space for trust issues.
Yes, and I want to say welcome to the Trek Table. We start by acknowledging that our teams on our table for the Trek Table are on the unceded land of the Tongva, the Chumash, the Quiche, the Ohlone, the Puyallup, the Pawtucket, and the Massachusetts people. We are grateful to the indigenous stewards of these lands, the ancestors who have come before, and those who have yet to come. I invite our listeners and our viewers to be in acknowledgement and alignment with the lands that you are on. Can I invite everybody to go ahead and take a breath in? And exhale. Thank you, everybody. I want to say hello and welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today as we hold Trek Space for Women of Color here at our very second Trek Table Holidaze Unprepped edition. So we're, streaming this, premiering this on Sunday. It's Sunday right now, Sunday, January 2nd. But through the magic of Discovery time travel, we actually taped this on another day earlier in the week. So this is our special Holidaze quick to it kind of episode moment. So we just want to say thanks to everybody. Some of us are in that chat with you right now, so we're super excited. And others of you, we just want to say welcome. If you're listening as a part of our podcast, welcome. If you're in our digital audience chatting, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. We are excited to be on the Outside In YouTube channel, and we just want to say welcome and hope everybody is having a powerful and resourced end of 2021.
And our opening track is titled Chicana Skies by my favorite band, and some of them happen to be my friends, Quetzal. Off their album Quetzal, you'll be hearing several tracks by Quetzal throughout this episode of Trek Table, and you can follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram. Do it.
Hey, we're back. Today's episode of the Trek Table is episode number 39. We are so excited to talk about Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 7, But to Connect. And while we're unprepped, we're still here and excited to have these fresh conversations with each other and our friend and guest who's back. So we're going to jump into this episode today a couple of different ways in our Holidaze ways. So Claudia's here with Trek Table questions. Instead of popcorn recap, we're going to play disco recap today. Maya Mama's here with Discovery Design. I'm going to take Thematix and weave it all together as we chunk into the arcs of Zora, the Federation Assembly, a multilateral DMA strategy assembly. We're also going to talk about Book and Tarka and all the things happening in this episode. We'll also share some of our favorite Star Trek shenanigans from this episode. We've got a special signal boost, of course, our final thoughts, and we always end our show in gratitude. Thanks again for being here in your holiday times or whenever you catch us on this episode. I'm going to invite us to go to the next part of our ritual. I'm going to ask everybody gathered to go ahead and tell us who you are, your names, your pronouns, access check-in, visual description, and finally, that question we love to ask ourselves: how do you enter as a Star Trek fan? I'm going to ask Maya Mama to go first today. Can I have you check in?
Yeah, I'm Maya Mama. I use she, her pronouns. I am a youngish looking middle-aged Black woman. I'm wearing my disco blue t-shirt and sort of a red and gold kind of looking eye makeup and red lipstick. I have a red headband on with a insignia on top and like sort of a blondish reddish afro. I'm from a generational Star Trek family, and I identify as omni sci-fi, and my access check-in is that traveling from the future, it has made me just a little bit tired, but time traveling just really takes it out of you.
It does. I love it. Welcome, Maya Mama. So happy that you're here. I'll go ahead and go next. What's up, everybody? I'm Dayla. My pronouns are she, he, they, and Dayla. My visual check-in is that I'm a mixed race Filipinx person. I've got this like little curl going on. The tips of my hair growing out with the blue. Got some black hair. I'm kind of shaved. I'm in my disco t-shirt as well with a whale carving on my chest, and I am virtually on the USS Discovery. I'm in one of the hallways that we see often in the episode, so I'm super excited about that. I definitely identify as a poly sci-fi person. Lots and lots of love for lots and lots of things. It might be time for a Farscape rewatch. And last but not least, yes, I'm a Trek head, but I would definitely say in my polyamory, Star Trek Discovery is my primary love. And that's who I am. All right. Claudia, can I invite you to go next? How are you?
I think that tells you enough. Claudia, pronouns they, their, she, hers. That was not on purpose. That cough was a natural cough because I got my booster shot. I'm all boosted up. I'm feeling full of vaccinated energy, which is actually, I think I'm having a little bit of that time travel drag as well. I'm an African American woman with a big brown afro, wearing a disco shirt, and I'm disabled, and y'all, I am covered in ice pack, so I can be here sitting up and upright with you. So I've got my ice pack strapped to my body across my disco t-shirt, and I've got a really cute little what do you call these thingies? Whatever this thing is, I've got it on my my ice pack.
Insignia.
Thank you. I've got a Star Trek insignia as well, and it's on my ice pack. You might see me pull a face because one of my muscles is pulling me, but I'm never pulling a face at your Star Trek opinion. All your Star Trek opinions are the best, and I identify as generational Star Trek loving family. But I'm a poly sci-fi fantasy dystopia kind of a watcher. I watch a lot of things every single day.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. Welcome, Claudia. Um, I am so excited to welcome Claudia and Maya Mama back. Thanks so much for being here at our last episode of 2021. I'm super excited. Our last guest today is a friend who's been on the show before. I want to say welcome back to Rose Portillo, who is a renowned theater artist, actor, writer, director, collaborator, and educator, a 40-plus year veterana of the stage and screen, large and small, community builder, art maker, maker of Altaz and Rosaics, aka Mosaics, an innovator and educator. All these things, Rose. I'm reading out your bio. I'm like, I could just tell them all the things. I do want to say though, folks, you should go follow Rose at Rose Portillo here on Instagram. Rose, we're so happy to have you back. Welcome back. Can I ask you after that bold introduction just to go ahead and check in, tell us how you are, your visual description, access check-in, pronouns, and how you identify as a Star Trek fan?
Oh my God, let's see if I can remember all those things. Because I have white and silver hair, and there's a reason because 40+ years veterana it implies.
Mhm.
So I'm just showing it. She, her. I am in my living room. There is my Christmas tree. There is my Santa Claus. I'm wearing a blue sweater. I have big silver earrings, but they blend with the silver hair, so you can't see them. In my house, there are birds which might chirp. One of them just laid 4 eggs. No, they will not hatch. There is no boy. So, what else? I have tendonitis. It sucks, but it'll get better. It'll be fine. I'm an OG Trekkie, and then I took a long vacation, and now I am deeply in love with disco. So there we go.
Yes, yes. Welcome and thank you. Welcome all. And I want to invite folks who are in our chat. What's up? Can I ask you to check in? How are you? We're curious, excited to see who's in the chat with us today. I'm going to be there, so super excited. I'm probably typing something cool right now. All right. So we've done our check-in, invited our audience to check in. Last bit of business before we actually talk about what happened in this episode. We're about to get into our Trek Table agreements. So we want to name them, right? We want to welcome all who enter, whether you are a newbie raised in a Star Trekking family, welcome. Let's build this space together.
Whether you use Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as a part of your self care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and come into Trek space.
This is a space for Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color to be a fan, a geek, a nerd, and explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse.
Yes, yes. And Trek Table is also a place for allies to come and engage and explore as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus on insights, perspectives, and experiences that we or you may not be familiar with.
And now that we are all here, we remind you that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand we'll disagree, and that's actually part of the fun, but there's enough violence happening out there in the world, so let's keep our phasers on stun.
Yes, yes. All right. So I'm inviting everybody to breathe in those agreements. Let's go ahead and take that one more big breath in and exhale.
And now we begin with our first Trek Table question posed to our Trek Table assembled here. How do you think the crew of Discovery impacted Zora's personality? Like, would she have a different personality with a different crew?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm here with Trek Table question number 1. How do you think the crew of Discovery, the people on this ship, how did they impact Zora's personality? Maya Mama, I'm going to start with you.
You know, to make a full and complete person, you know, Zora had to take the good and take the bad and take them all, you know, and then
And then
and
you have
then
the
she really
facts of
had
life.
the facts of life. That's,
She's a
I
ship
don't know
that has
why,
to
but that was
learn and
like the
grow.
first thing that popped into my head when I was thinking about the personality. But no, but she did. She took a little bit of. She took the positives and the negatives, but to learn how to become a full and complete person, to learn how to manage emotions and things like that. I think that if she had been on, say, Captain Killy's Discovery, that maybe things would have been a lot different. I think she might have been a lot more brutal. But that would have been just because Zora's personality is based on the culture that she was raised in, and
Hmm.
evolved in. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Rose, I'm wondering if you have any perspectives on Zora's personality and how the crew might have impacted it.
Yeah, absolutely. You are your environment. I had a mentor who said that to me. That you know, she was raised in Mexico and therefore was Mexicana, and that had a lot to do with who she was and became in this country. And she was not uh, uh, an actual Mexicana. So so yeah, I also space absorbs, and I live in a house that I was born into, and it's
Oh.
almost 100 years old. It's getting very close to that. And I often feel the house having its own life and giving me energy back as well. So it made perfect sense to me that the ship would absorb the experiences, that it is also experiencing what the humans, or what
Ooh.
the various cultures and beings and entities are experiencing. So yeah, it makes sense that it would be a matter of time before it had its own consciousness.
Come on, Rose. Come on, Rose. I'm in love with that
Mhm.
observation, right? Because I had been thinking, I had been thinking really prosaically, like you learn from seeing others, and like that's like we saw the memories and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's what it is. But
Yeah.
like you just made me go super deep because I'm now thinking about yes, whenever I walk through a building, I feel like
yeah.
I'm experiencing all of the human beings that have been in that building. And when it's a space
Correct.
that's full of toxicity, like a prison or a school, I will feel ghosts of like trauma and pain. And when I'm in a space that's like a worship space or a joyful space,
Yeah.
I get that vibe. There's
Yeah.
actually a Star Trek episode that mentions this. There's a Star Trek episode, The Next Generation, where Troy fully experiences some like psychic trauma that happened on the ship. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Dela, I'm wondering if you can
Yeah.
take us home with any wrap up observations, any any Dela, if you could give us some additional observations about how the crew of Discovery might have impacted Zora's personality.
Thank you. Yes, and I appreciate all what we just heard. Yes, yes, yes. I think my additions would be I'm thinking about a Wosukun at the end of season 3 and using her ability to hold her breath to literally go and crawl her way to try to save the ship. I think the other thing I want to say about it is I think about how yeah, when they landed in the parasitic, I like all the adventures, all the times, and Sora says it in the episode, but all the different times the crew has shown her that they care about the ship. Like I think she was experiencing their love because of the way in which what everybody was just saying is like when we are in a place our energetic signature registers based on what happened. And I think for all of us on this table today, we all know what it's like at different points to facilitate or run a group or try to connect to somebody, and those magical moments that are not about words but are about breath or silence, or even just like witnessing each other. So I think all of that and her dream subconscious little node that Adira found was amazing. So I'm all about that.
Y'all, this is why I come to Trek Table. It's not because I like it's not well, I do love to talk about Star Trek, but because y'all give me such beautiful insights. That was Trek Table question number 1.
Trek Table is proud to be a part of the digital theater platform at Outside In Theater. Like and subscribe to the Outside In YouTube channel for our weekly live digital recordings. Listening on the podcast, check out youtube.com/Outside In Theater.
And with that song Matanzas by our friends the band Quetzal, we know that it is time for the disco recap. Since today is our second Holidaze episode, we're going to invite each member of our table today to go around and share their own 1 minute take or disco recap or highlights, opening statement, however you want to consider this moment. That's what we're going to do today.
And we are going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7, But to Connect. Written by Terry Hughes Burton and Carlos Cisco and directed by Lee Rose.
Yes, and the logline from the show says tensions rise as representatives from across the galaxy gather to confront the threat of the dark matter anomaly. Zora's new sentience raises difficult questions. All right, so that's what the show said. Here's what the table's going to say. Let's go ahead and go around and each share a minute about our thoughts, highlights, or personal plot moments from this episode this week. Maya Mama, I'm going to ask you to go first today.
So, Teener is back, the with his edge lordness that makes him way too cool for this universe. And then we got Book and Michael are unable to agree on whether or not to kill all the 10C aliens. But I blame Torker because he's a shit starter. Also, Zora is a new life form, like officially. I mean, she was but now legally, I guess she is. So that is awesome. I'm also really relieved that Stamets was able to work through his racism, like live and in front of everybody, because it was actually very interesting. Because he's like, why is everyone else okay with this, but I'm not? Also, I'm really glad that Tarzan wasn't there because I know he would have messed up everything for everybody there. Um, I also I, I loved seeing all the aliens and it was amazing and I guess that's it. Bye.
I love it. I love it. And just to acknowledge, Maya Mama, do you know the name of what's his name? Tarka, like Parka, right? Not
Yeah,
just
Tarka
Teener,
like
not just.
Parka. Yeah, no.
Tracker. Got it. Tracker.
Tracker. Right.
Tracker.
Got it.
T-Man,
AKA
Tarzan,
Tarzan.
Teener, all the things, all the things. Rose, can I invite you to go next? Your minute take on this episode.
Here it comes. So I thought this show episode did a really good job of breaking down politics and politicians versus explorers and scientists, and really helped me to understand that dichotomy. And I actually felt good about politicians for a moment there with them, and the language, culture, context, trust issues, family, community, moments where they're really talking about discipline versus death, which is very current here. What is the death penalty? You must take care of humans, not humans. I say humans, right? But they're talking about whatever culture they are. That we don't kill our own. We don't harm our own, and that became clear to me.
Excellent job, Rose. Excellent job. Thank you so much. Awesome. Two different kinds of takes on this show. Claudia, I'm going to invite you to jump in here. You have your 1 minute to share your insights, thoughts, reflections, opening thoughts on this episode.
All right, just a few loose thoughts that I had.
Incoming transmission.
Focus on what you can control. Cat toy, not the cat. That's some good advice for life. Zora is not spilling the tea. She's keeping her data to herself. Amazing. Commander or General of Earth, she's about choosing violence, and I see that. I'm loving all the outer space former wear, but it's a lot. There's not a lot of color. I'm freaked out that there are not more people as freaked out. I'm surprised there aren't as many people as freaked out as Stamets. But I just love that the kids are there to advocate for Zora, and it's so contemporary. It feels like moments I've seen happen at school in college. How does Gray make mullets look cute? What's that about? Butterfly Man. That's it. That's the note. Zora loves her crew. Oh, she's like Gump too. She's like Gump too. Boring speech from Rilke, effective speech from Tarka, moving speech from Book, but only the most moving one is from Michael. Michael can change the world with a speech. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Only if they're programmed to. Zora gonna enlist. We love that about that. And also, like, just Stamets being like, yeah, I guess I should have been fired. I was like, could every white male board member that I've done an EDI workshop with take Stamets notes? Look at Stamets.
Yes.
I had more.
Amen, sister. Well done.
Mm-hmm. I
Well done.
acknowledge what you said, Claudia. You have more. I know you have more. That's why we have a whole show. We have a whole show for the more. I know, Claudia. We all have more, and I'm sure there are people in our chat right now who are like, I have more. So I want to invite our friends in the chat.
Yeah.
I see you, friends. You want to chat us
Yeah.
up? Like, what's up with the more? So yeah, I just want to say these are awesome. All right. I will go last. I'm gonna give you my 1 minute. Thank you all for going ahead.
Incoming transmission.
All right. I love that Zora is a person. I think it's interesting that the episode starts at a certain moment with Kovich versus Burnham across the table. I love that they named that we're at the multilateral DMA strategy assembly. Yes, General Ndoye. United Earth and Titan. Okay, so all that struggle earlier between Titan and Earth, that whole resolution, yay, that worked. So I just want to say this whole episode, there were just so many moments of like Burnham touched this, Discovery touched that, like all these worlds we're getting to see, and trying not to get caught up in the feeling that Burnham is the only one who could do things, but definitely honoring the visibility of the fact that you cannot deny what Burnham has been doing in this time, that Discovery and Burnham have been making differences, have been making connections, have been making impact. So I have a lot more to say. I guess the last thing I want to say is it was really powerful to see Gray identify as a synth, and for Gray and Adira to stand up for Zora.
Yes.
If you are having a good time, we should keep this dialogue going. Like and follow us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek_Table.
Welcome to Discovery Design. We've Seeing some beautiful and amazing design elements in this episode of Disco, and I need to know what everyone thinks about them. So let's dish. So now, my favorite observation is the tiny, compact, little new portable spore drive. Like it's all cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's supposed to be like the Tesla spore drives, and they like change the color so that it like looks cooler. We put some orange on it so it's nicer. But they don't actually know what the long term effects to space are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it really really interesting.
I love it. And he stole it with the thumbprint, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I guess he
Stole it.
opened it.
Yeah. Improved somebody else's work. Right. Okay. Well, Dela, let's move on to you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's this conference room
Mm-hmm.
where Zora meets with Dr. Kovic. He's a doctor, right? They do call him a
He is. He
doctor.
is. They do.
Now I love that reveal of Zora's face,
Mm-hmm.
where you can see that. What spoke to you in that scene, in those scenes?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate seeing Zora's face. I think one of the other things that really struck me, particularly about one of the images that the show released this week, was just watching Kovic and Saru and Stamets and Kolber all be in this room, and then it eventually, yeah, and then Gray and Adira come in. I think my question is, I used to think that was a ready room. I guess I'm like transposing the captain's ready room with a conference room. Like, is this the room where Saru had everybody come to Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving dinner? Like, when they were trying to settle
It's
everybody
different.
in season 3. So it's different. So I think I'm just like loving all of the media. As a former like event producer, I'm loving all the medium-sized spaces on the ship. I'm really fascinated by all the different
Yeah.
configurations and the furniture. And again, we talk about this about where are the seatbelts on the show, but also like, can people sit down? Can people be in? And I thought it was deep. Kovic sat the whole time. So well, maybe he
Yeah.
stood a couple times, but anyway, so thank you for letting me ramble because the minutia of it all just
But no, you're right. For the most part, he just stayed comfortable and let everyone else just kind of talk around him. Now,
mhm.
also, last week we talked a little bit about the alien delegations, and now we see even a larger gathering, both in remote and in person. Did you notice anything new about the addition of the other races?
As we're looking at images on the screen, there was somebody who looked like magenta stardust, or like they had like a green halo next to the Orion queen with her
Mm,
blue off the shoulder sparkly thing. Like, there was so much fashion. I wish they had released this image, but there is a black woman in the sequence of folks. She has really short hair, and then she has these fabulous like structured shoulder pieces. So there was just a lot of fashion. And then the last thing I want to say is, I know we're in a different galaxy and universe and all the far aways, but it felt a little like the Imperial Senate, just with walls.
yeah,
Um, and
no.
I was like, oh, everybody's in a circle. And then nobody from any of the lower floors spoke. So I know, Claudia, you also know a lot about species. I just feel like there was a lot of species drops and pictures, and the butterfly man, and like the crew member who looks like they have the weird snout, and the osmolis. So I'm just a lot of different species.
Can I bounce off of that, Maya Mama?
Hmm. Yeah, go.
Because I have a question. This is a design. This is a design question. I hadn't realized that telling sci-fi stories required so many space congresses, so many space, outer space,
Hmm.
future, government rooms for people to talk government stuff in. Now, I myself, I tend to be pretty involved, so I actually find myself in government type spaces all the time. It's interesting. The one in
Mm.
Oakland literally had theater seats, like velvet theater seats, and was like, I was like, oh, this is set up for like the drama and performance because it's a performative act, right? So I was a little confused because I was like, why are they on different floors? Like, I get like the needing a circle and the wanting to communicate. There's a lot of people weighing in on this. But like them being on different floors, I was just confused about how that would work. But it was a different design, and I liked that.
There were moments where it seemed like if you were on the lower floor but you had something to say, you suddenly appeared on the top floor to
Oh
speak.
yeah, because they had
Oh,
the
Yeah.
fast what do you
The
call it? Instant
screens.
the
transport.
personal, yeah,
So
personal
so I think
transporters.
that's how they're handling that.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that is how Book moved, because Book was down at
Correct.
the bottom
Correct.
with
Tarka.
That
Teddy.
other
Tarzan.
guy.
Yeah.
Teddy,
Yeah.
That other
whoever.
guy.
And I want to say I thought that Tarka broke the rule and what do you call it?
Yes.
Personal transported himself up to the main platform because Rillick went, she looked over at him
True.
and then Book did it later. Book did it twice. So I think I just read that as, oh, Tarka is privileged and entitled and he's gonna jump up and try to get his project going.
I was surprised that they could even allow that. I was like, hey, have you heard about turning someone's microphone off? You could do that in the future. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be great. That'd be a wonderful thing to see.
You talked a little bit about the Spore Drive, which was super cute. It felt like something that was made, like, you know how, like, the Mac people, the Apple people, they'll make you a thing, and then they'll make something that's smaller. It's the same thing, but like a slightly different shape,
Right.
and be like, look at how amazing we are. It felt
It's
like
like,
that move.
yeah, it's like it was made by a man who's just asking questions, you know? Um I just got a lot of burns for him. All right. Rose, I'm very happy to chat with you. Let's move on to you. Now, in this week's episode, we see Zora's subconscious.
Yeah.
You know, her moral center. Any thoughts on the look and style of her heart?
Um, I'm still not well, her heart, if you mean her
Her
subconscious,
soul, her
where I think her
subconscious, yeah.
soul is living, and we haven't quite seen it yet, but we're getting a glimpse through her subconscious, and it was very geodesic, which was lovely. Even though, we're seeing one image at a time, but it seemed to be within a geodesic structure, which is all about interconnectedness. It's all about one pole depends on the other, and that geodesic supports itself with each piece in place. You can't it doesn't exist without the interconnectedness and dependence on each other. So that also to me spoke of hope, of real hope for
Oh,
what she
yeah.
holds,
That's beautiful.
and her awareness, whether she is aware of it yet or not, but of her awareness of that interconnectedness. Yeah, that I
Ooh,
love that.
yeah. That's beautiful. Well, thank you, Rose. And that is Discovery Design. Hey, Dela, I hear some fun things are in Trek Table's future. Do you want to share with our audience the news?
Thanks, my mama. Yes. Hey, everybody. We are excited to announce that starting on February 6, 2022, Trek Table will be live streaming directly from our own YouTube channel. We have loved and appreciated Outside In. We're still partners with them. We're super excited about this shift for us as a show. So we want to invite folks, go ahead and check out the Trek Table YouTube channel. And if you are not already, please become a subscriber and hit like and subscribe for all of our latest updates.
And as we head into our next musical break, we now bring to you Trick Table question number 2. When dealing with DMAs, what's more important to weigh? Impact or intention?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Welcome back with Trek Table question number 2. So I got a serious question for y'all. As someone who works in the social justice field, I'm often working with large groups unpacking ideas around impact and intention. And I'll be honest, y'all, I was surprised that Michael seemed to be on the side of, well, we can't only look at their impact. I appreciated it. I thought it might be some fodder for a juicy conversation. I'm going to start with you, Dayla. Impact versus intention when dealing with DMAs. What's more important?
I want to say to your last part of your comment before I answer this question, I think Book agrees with you because Book says to burn them. I can't believe you're all about action until this moment. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think that this is a chunky question. I think that when we think about how we engage with each other as people, these conversations about intention versus impact are really powerful. I feel like I'm more stuck on this idea of intention versus impact, and to be confronted with the DMA choice like you're asking us, Claudia, I don't know, actually I feel a little stuck. Like,
Well, this is less about the DMA and it's more about the people on the planet. The 10 seers, what are they called?
yeah, species 10C. So I guess I mean I am a in matters of diplomacy, I would be about an intentionality and try to find if there I would be Burnham, and I would try to start with diplomacy, but I deeply I mean I just I
Mm,
feel for Book. I see
mhm.
the difficult difference.
No, I can see the general of Earth does not agree with you.
Right?
Rose, what do you think? In just in terms of intent versus impact.
I really appreciate uh, both. I've been on both sides of that in a social justice situation dealing with youth. I have, or with young adults. Um, I I love that they are really bringing this up because it also feeds into it's the whole I speak from my experience, and my intentionality is really important. And caring people put their genuine intention in front. And no matter what we do in life, we are not always aware of the impact that has on someone that has a very different experience and reads it completely outside of the intention with which it was said or done. And not taking a moment to breathe that in and simply blasting another human being, another culture, another whatever. Suddenly Asians are evil, blacks are evil, Hispanics are evil. That's where that kind of, it can easily become that. It can easily become that. So to take a breath and go, we need to talk to each other and explain the intention and share our experience so that perhaps we can lessen the impact.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I
Just to say,
went real personal with that when I
I
heard
love
when that whole
that.
episode. Yeah,
I don't know how Discovery found all my private diaries and started writing episodes just for me, but they've been
right.
doing it for three
Mhm.
Mhm.
seasons, and I'm upset about it. I keep coming back for
Mhm.
more. Thank you for that observation, Rose. This is, I mean, your comments about in the importance of centering intention and understanding it, but also it not being more important than impact. That feels very clear to me. Just
Mm,
to your point, Dela, there's a lack of cultural competency. So Michael
Mhm.
talks about it because like Book is like,
It's true.
why don't you want to do the same thing you did with the Klingons? Like you knew Vulcan hello or goodbye or whatever that is, you pop off. And she's like, I knew who they were and how they'd react and stuff. I don't have context here. I need to find out more. So that
yeah.
that just feels like that feels like a lot. Maya Mama, what is your take on intent versus impact with DMAs?
Now, I believe that harm has to be acknowledged, harm done, but
Totally.
context is important after, discussion and amends. But as far as Michael,
Mm.
Michael is representing Starfleet.
Mm.
Starfleet's goal is peace. Starfleet, although they have, military ranks, they're not a military or a policing organization. Their ultimate goal is peace and to avoid war. The only reason why they engage so hard with the Klingons is because that's how you get to peace with with the Klingons. They don't know how to get to peace with the 10C. They can't just dive in.
Mhm.
That's not what they do. And if Michael was doing this on her own, if this was her own choice, of course she would dive in and she would blast them. But that's not her job. She's a
Mm-hmm.
Starfleet captain. And yeah.
You know, I'm in full agreement with you, Maya Mama, except for I don't think Michael Burnham, even if Michael Burnham was a free
No, you're
agent,
right.
I don't think Michael
You're
Burnham
right.
would just because you this is an observation I got from you. Revenge is not the same as justice. And
No.
Michael Burnham is
Mm.
fueled by a
Mm-hmm.
seeking for
Justice.
justice.
Yes.
So
Amen.
y'all,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
this is why I
Yeah.
keep asking you questions. We have the best conversations. All right, so that was trick table question number 2.
Yes, we do. We do have some of the best conversations. And if you are as happy about these conversations, if you are enjoying these conversations, if you appreciate that we are holding Trek space for women of color, BIWOC folks who are Discovery fans or other Trek fans, then we invite you to share that joy with us. Think about in 2022 becoming a member to support us at patreon.com/Trek Table. You can consider a one-time donation, whatever makes sense to you, or maybe you can give us a monthly. We appreciate any thought about how to support keeping this space going.
And now is that time, that very special time, even in an unprepped episode where we have a Star Trek dance break. The charade.
A shift, a move, a surge, we feel and manifest. Slide from uncertainty and legend to intent. Interminable imaginaries guided by ancestor strength. Abide by no one's government. We below into the left more. We see more. Whose life is this for?
Awesome. Welcome back. This is the thematic section of our Trek Table episode number 39. And we like to come into this part of the episode where we get to braid it all together, dive deeper into the themes, insights, and reflections that we have about this week's episode. Obviously, we're already deep in it, right? We're braiding out all, we're talking about all the deep things. And we're doing what I think Discovery does best, which is using this show as a really interesting launch point, not only to talk about our sci-fi fandom, our Star Trek fandom, but also to connect to the real world. And I will ditto you, Claudia. I do feel like the writers have found some of my secret journals and have been writing stories for the last 4 seasons. I'm like, this is the intention versus impact episode. So many things. All right. So let's start with topic number 1. We're going to get into 3 big topics today. Like we said at the top of the show, there are lots of different story arcs this whole season. One of the big things this season is about beings being seen, right? Whether it's Gray becoming into corporeal form and becoming a synth, or now Zora and her sentience and her actually literally talking about her body and the form that she is in, right? So lots of chunky things. And then, David Cronenberg's back as Kovich. We have all that engagement. As you were saying earlier, Claudia, the queer fam bam shows up. Like, it's all happening in this room with Saru. Can I invite you, Claudia, to jump in here first for topic number 1, your reflections on Zora's sentience validation journey, I guess I can call it that.
Yes, the validation journey. Ooh, I love that. I feel like Zora is deeply self-actualized. Like Zora knows herself. And it's not only because Zora can do like programs to look at her entire consciousness. So I love that. I love that she knows that she's a ship and she's embracing it. I love that the story beats feel so natural and not forced and very queer. It feels like for one of the first times I'm getting story beats that reflect experiences I've had in my life, but it doesn't feel like they tied a bow or they're kind of underlining it and being like, look at us, we just did one good thing, now let's go back to our bad plot points. So I really appreciated that.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. Maya Mama, your thoughts on this topic. Where are you on Zora's sentience journey?
Well, I'm
Validation journey.
I'm a little suspicious about why Kovich was really there. Because I think that we are judged by how we treat others, how we treat this new unique life. I think it's really indicative of if you hold the ideals of Starfleet and the Federation, and it kind of feels like maybe Kovich was testing everybody, because he was willing to, he said he was going to pull her out of her body and force her into
Mm-hmm.
a different body.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really see that necessarily being a thing. I don't know that he would do, even though he seems really mean. I don't think that maybe I think maybe he's kind of like um a very nice weird man.
I love it. Hey, nice weird man. All right. Rose, your thoughts on this topic about Zora and her sentience validation journey?
Well, I did feel actually that he was clear and said that he was also judging the crew, and that in point of fact, he offered that as a possibility of putting her in another body. But in point of fact, he would have moved Stamets to another ship. So I think, yeah, he was looking at the whole picture. And it's that weird thing where people who do that and can't reveal, it's the poker face that you can't know. And that's part of his job, is to truly assess, and that's not an easy job to have by any means. It's just also the coming to realize that this is not artificial intelligence. This is an evolution. And that was quite that just, I did not expect that, and that was fabulous.
I will agree with what everybody has said. I think my big aha, just having that moment of realizing that all of the people gathered to evaluate Zora were male identified except for Adira. And, so part of my transition in the joke is, while all the dudes and Adira were evaluating Zora and her sentience journey, validation process, all the other women in power are actually off dealing with the problems of the universe. So, and not to say that Zora's sentience is not a challenge, but I just thought it was really interesting. And I guess I had a moment of like, how do I feel that there's no woman on this evaluative team? I think it's super progressive and exciting that Adira is they, them, non-binary. I think it gives us a lot of, I feel like we're getting a lot of different kinds of conversations, and certainly Adira and Grace showing up in the room saying, I'm also like Zora. I'm also like Zora, right? So I want to, I guess I just want to button that topic by saying yes to the queer family things, yes to all the ways that these folks are interacting with them. And yes, and I'm still also like, I got to rewatch it again to figure out how I feel about.
But to your point, Burnham was in the know and part of the conversation. But yes, she did have to go save the universe.
Yes. Yes. And Kovich was like, I have my job, you have yours. So yes. Yeah. So I want to acknowledge all that wonderfulness. I'm happy for us to talk about that too. The business of Burnham and Relic and President Tarina and our 60 plus folks assembled were there for the multilateral DMA strategy assembly. Yes, I love the naming of the thing, right? So we talked a little bit about it. We talked a lot about it in design. I think we also we were able to talk a little bit about intention and impact. Thank you, Claudia, for that check table question number 2. So I want to use this opportunity for us to kind of tie it all together, right? We're seeing images. If you're watching the show with us live, we're seeing General Ndoye and President Rillick on the screen, and then you're seeing some of the council assembled. So, and then just to say, we'll dig into the book and T-Man later, but let's just talk about Burnham, Rillick, these powerful women, these powerful beings all assembled to talk about this strategy about what to do about the DMA. Maya Mama, can I invite you to chime in any other thoughts we haven't covered yet? It's been so robust.
Well, I do think that the fact that people had the option to join remotely is like super super topical and relevant to the right now. And just I just keep thinking really just playing these games. But this is how, I guess that's what that's what Starfleet's job is. That's really what Michael Burnham's job is to be like, is for Rillick to say nothing and for her to say, this would be the right thing. This is the right thing. So that Rillick can pretend that she doesn't have an opinion and is 100% neutral. Just like she did on Vulcan. When she
Uh-huh.
had to save face, she's like, "Oh, I guess we'll have Michael Burnham take care of it," um, because she's randomly here. Honestly, if I was having any kind of negotiation and Michael Burnham showed up with the president, I'd be like, "Oh, okay. No, I see what's going on. I know what's up."
So would you say that Michael Burnham is Rillick's space consigliere?
Yes, yes.
Michael would not
I like that.
appreciate that.
I like
Michael
that.
would not like
I
that.
know. No, no disrespect, Michael. No disrespect. I'm
Well,
just
no,
acknowledging
look
what
at
I'm
her
there to be
face.
saying.
She knows it and she doesn't like it, but she chooses the high road.
She does. She does. Rose, can I jump to you first since you're here? Your thoughts about President Rillick and this assembly where we are with the Federation right now.
It's just really interesting to watch politics at play within her being. And yes, who she chooses to go to is why I like her. Right? Who she chooses to go to is someone who has she's not just going to someone who has her back, because she is well aware that Michael don't give a shit about her back. But she cares about the community and she cares about her job. And not because she has a job, but because of what the job is. So that there is trust. There and Burnham's having to learn to trust her. She already implicitly trusts Burnham with a few question marks. She's not stupid. They know each other's history. So I just find it really fascinating, and again applaud how they're bringing in politics as a necessary beast.
And I'm going to transition to you, Claudia, and I'm hearing you from last week's episode when we were talking about Burnham. You quoted Burnham, I feel like at one point, or maybe I was just listening to an old episode where you were quoting her, but she says, I know transparency is not always possible, but it's something that I need. And so we've already have this established kind of back and forth between Burnham and Rillick. We've been watching this. So the minute that Burnham met Rillick, she did not trust her, right? Your other thoughts about Rillick and the whole Federation? I mean, obviously President Serena's there.
Rose, you fully changed my mind because I like you know this about me, Daylight. I don't trust anybody in power in Star Trek. If you got power in Star Trek, unless you are on my ship and my bridge crew, I'm not sure about you until you like save people's lives like 4 or 5 times, right? Rillick is mad manipulative. And I actually disagree with the stance that in order to hold space for collective consensus making that you have to pretend you don't have an opinion. I actually think that that's fake and that's supremacy culture nonsense. Neutrality isn't real. There is no such thing as neutral. So choosing to keep your opinion to yourself so you can get your way, that's Rillick rigging the game a little bit. But it's to save the world. Well, to save the whole universe from these DMAs. So I gotta give some respect to Rillick. She gotta play the game she gotta play. Okay.
And she does, and she'll drop. I mean, we learned two things. We learned another moment about her this episode. Her mother is from Earth, right? She also, in previous episodes when she was on the Discovery, she made a point to tell us her father used to run cargo ships, right? So we're also learning. I just was having these moments of like, who is Rillick in this context as this mixed species Bajoran, Cardassian, human being, right? And so all the things that Rillick carries literally when Rillick comes in the room. So I appreciate this conversation because I think that last observation, Claudia, really I think gets at the heart of also what got really tricky is because Rillick played neutral, then we put Book and Burnham, then she pushes Burnham up, and I really want to say brilliant brilliant plotting by the writers. I agree with you what you said earlier, Claudia. Like, I did not feel like I was walking through a plot. I felt like I was waiting to watch things unfold. So this last topic, we're going to talk about Book. We could talk about Book Burnham because there's a lot of business there, but we also know we'll probably have episode 8 to deal with the fallout of the end of this episode. But yeah, Book Burnham, and then T-Man, Tarzan, Tarka like Parka, and what he's doing in terms and yeah, who do we trust? How do we trust people? So Rose, I'm gonna come to you first for this question. Your thoughts about Book, Tarka, that whole plot.
I think it's so interesting. Again, just the writers of presenting the politicians, explorers, diplomats, and rebels.
Mm.
And when you're so sure you're right that you must move forward. And that's who Burnham was in the very beginning in season 1. That's who she was. So of course she and Book are together. Of course they are. And her experience has brought her to a different place, and his recent experience has brought him to this place. As you can see him with fellow instigator rebel kind of going, oh, wait a minute, you're being very self-serving, aren't you? You're not. So Burker's coming to his holding a vision of the whole, where someone else is holding, his partner in crime, literally, is holding a very specific personal vision. So again, trust is all over the place here. Can I? Will I?
Thank you, Rose. Claudia, I'm going to come to you next.
Well, this Tarka, I love Tarka just for the drama of it, right? Like, you gotta, I mean, to a certain extent, I would love to watch 900 hours of this Trek, the Discovery crew just palling around, just having a good time, just maybe drinking coffee and talking about the weather. But it's good that there's drama in the episode. His backstory is really believable. I felt like the actor really brought it, and I believed that Tarka had a background of being horribly tortured, of connecting with someone deeply and emotionally, and wanting to be with that person, wanting to escape this world, and all that trauma and badness was real, and I believed it, and I don't care. I do not care. I'm sorry. It's bad things happen to people. They aren't excuses to do future bad acts. So yeah, he's okay with collateral damage, and I'm not okay with him.
And I'll just say, the way you just laid it out, it reminds me of what I thought at a certain point. I felt like when Tarka was naming out this connection with the person, they were both tortured, and they said if we ever got out and got separated, we'd meet there. I don't know if anybody else felt it, but I felt like it was a little U.S. Discovery Shawshank Redemption moment. And like, Tarka is Andy Dufresne, and this unnamed friend is Red, and they're gonna meet in Tehuataneo on the edge of the universe or the galaxy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Claudia, exactly what you said. I was like, and I don't really care, dude. I care about Book, and I care about Burnham. So that's my read. Maya, I'm gonna come to you last as we wrap up this robust thematics.
Yeah, I mean, I just gotta say that, Torger says cool things and he makes you want to help him, but he's a megalomaniac. And I really feel like Discovery has really outdone themselves, because I just can't even imagine. I think he is too sociopathic and evil for the Terrans. I mean, he is conning Book, and using his grief to take advantage of him by talking about someone that he's lost, regardless of whether it is true or not. I also don't care. He's using that to get Book to, because that's why Book decided to trust him. It's because he understands loss. And the guy's a sociopath, and I don't think he does. And he also reminds me of another famous person who wants to escape this world with his cool inventions. That's all I got.
There you go. And I will say there are so many more things that could be said about this episode thematically, but those are our thoughts at the end of this Thematics for Trek Table episode number 39.
And now, as we head into our final Trek Table question number 3, I want you to think hard about this. It's a very important question. What even is long distance dating in the future?
Mira que regresa el maldito.
like ship to ship, like planet to planet? Like where are they going? Like I'm just trying to figure it out. I need your help. Could you all help me figure out what even is what does it mean to be long distance dating? For I mean, I feel Gray and Adira's drama, but like, can you just talk to me about it a little bit? Dayla, help me out.
I'm trying to figure out what the hologram equivalent is to sexting.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
I guess you
Yep.
just have hologram sex, right?
Yep.
Hollow sex? That does, and then that doesn't even sound. I don't want to have hollow sex. That sounds bad.
But
It
they
sounds hollow.
showed that it's possible though. We saw that Stamets was
really?
able to go onto bookship and he could touch it. Oh,
Oh, I missed
Dayla.
that.
Oh no! See, now you're even talking about Neuralink sex. That's
Yes.
Neuralink
Oh,
sex.
that's neural.
Ah,
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Okay.
I had no
Okay.
that's
idea
what I
it was
have
going
to
to
say.
get so deep. Okay, Rose, what long distance?
Well,
dating
that's
is a
where I
huge-
went first. Was Hallow. Halla. That's gonna, but still, there's the actual touching. The actual touching is very difficult. But how is it? It's better than FaceTime, I suppose.
There you go.
You can
Yeah.
get there faster.
But I'm also assuming that like when you're sending messages across the entire universe, maybe there's a delay. So like maybe there's that. Like I know that when I was dating someone across the country, the time zone thing actually was a bit of a drag because when it was
Oh, yeah.
late at night for them, it wasn't late for me.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
our schedules weren't in sync. But
Yeah.
again, if you can like if you're on different sides of a planet, I feel like you could make that work. Now, Maya Mama, what's your take on this?
Well, I think that some of this mentality is also like this sort of pre-burn mentality
Mm.
where they can't travel really fast back and forth to see each other.
Yes.
But
Hmm.
but they already had a sort of the same type of relationship that we're talking about where they did not have physical contact with one another, where their relationship was um had more to do with with non-physical contact, with with a different form of intimacy. So I don't
Come
really,
on.
so I mean, I think that they already know what they're doing. They've already done it, so that's why Adira is just not worried. I think they got this in the bag.
Maya Mama for the win. That's the answer. At least for Adira and Gray, they understand intimacy and an intimacy that doesn't require physical co-location. And as somebody who's on their second year of quarantining through this pandemic, I like to get a little inspiration about having long-term relationships without the necessity of physical co-location. That is beautiful. And those were our Trek Table questions for this episode of Trek Table number 39.
We want to give a shout out to all our podcast subscribers. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for following us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Like and subscribe for all our podcasts.
And with that song, Fancy Time Teller by the band Quetzal off the album Die Cowboy Die, that has brought us to our newest segment, Star Trek Shenanigans. In this segment, we try to explore some of the Easter eggs, some things that we just find funny or wacky, little things that Trek fans, OG Trekkies, Trekheads might find funny, or things that we have noticed here at the Trek Table. This is Star Trek Shenanigans. And since we're in an unprepped episode, we're going to go around and let everybody share a shenanigan or two that they got to notice during this week's episode. So I'm going to go first, and I will say I had a couple, definitely Adira and Gray as the the queer long distance thing. That shenanigan felt real to me in my personal life Easter egg kind of moment of all the different long distance relationships I've had. Thank you, Claudia, co-location language. But I'll say my shenanigan for the week is that within the first few minutes, Stamets is trying to say they need more processing power, and my Easter egg is he wants to use the Voyager ship's computer to help finishing the processing. I thought that was fun. Maya Mama, do you have a shenanigan this week?
I do. It was a quote from President Brillick where she says it's paramount that they all unite. And I was like, really? I rewound it and then I listened to it and then I rewound it and I was like, are we sure it's not Paramount Plus?
I love it. Thank you, Maya Mama. Rose Portillo, do you have a shenanigan today?
I do. I have a good one. And with full transparency, I am a alum of Pomona College and I teach at Pomona College. Now, within the first 5 minutes, Zora says that there are 147 possible places where the DMA could be from. The 47 is an Easter egg connected to Pomona College, the number 47, the Borg, and many other things. And Della, please share how, because I have asked students, I know 47 is important. 47 comes up in my life consistently. Numerologically, 47 is an important number in my life. And I would ask students, where the hell does 47, why is it so important? Nobody has an answer. Della does.
So the quick answer. So this is a little bit of Star Trek Easter eggy. Transparency. My first job out of college was working at Pomona College, and the oral history I remember is the math department did an experiment to try to discover the most random number occurring anytime you tried to find a random number. The students had this math project. This was in the time when Next Generation was in production and writing. They heard about this, that once they figured it out, the most naturally occurring random number is the number 47. It happened to blow everybody's mind because if you are a driver here in Southern California going to Pomona College, it happens to be exit number 47 off of the 10 Interstate Freeway. So there's a lot of 47 jokes. And the last thing is another day we'll tell the story about how the Borg is actually modeled on a building at Pomona where my office was located for 3 years. So I can legit
It's
say
personal.
I have worked in the Borg. Okay. Anyways, thank you for this like shenanigan extra. But yeah, 47. And so anytime we hear a star date that ends in 47 or something 47, that's a nice little nod. And it's been acknowledged in the Star Trek fandom and they talk about it. So I don't know if I got all the exacts. So I'm gonna honor people in the chat who might have other info. We can also resource it out. I'm sure it's on Memory Alpha somewhere. And if not, maybe we can write that page. Thank you, Rose, for that. All right, Claudia. I know we just did a bunch of different things. We've had a variety of Easter eggs of shenanigans this episode. I think you have a couple of things that you saw in this episode, and I wanted to ask you to run a couple shenanigans for us.
Yeah. Well, the first shenanigan is actually the one that Rose mentioned. When Zora says there are 147 possible places, there's some reaction from either Adira or Stamets. It's like, oh, okay, that's a little too much information. You're being a little too precise. And I was like, oh boy, we finally have a character that will give too precise numbers and give too much information, and people will react to it, just like with Spock and Data. It's like one of those like jokes that they tell over and over again. And I find that deeply satisfying for some reason. I like it when they do that. Also, Burnham is still working on winning Grudge over, and Book made her the cat sitter. And that's I mean, I'm remembering LaForge getting scratches from Spot when he was cat sitting for Data. Like, cat sitting's no joke. That's real.
Can I ask you to share our favorite one? A couple weeks ago, one of our shenanigans was Vulcan flirt meditation. Can you tell us your observation from this?
Well, you gotta love Saru's game. I am here for it. I'm kind of worried because like I've gotten really invested in their flirtations, and I'm like, this is a TV show. I don't know where it's gonna go, but like he flirted with a plant, and I had no idea that like his plant game was strong. I was like, bring me a plant, okay, Saru with a plant,
Right? All these things. And I want to say, if you are in our chat right now, we are dropping a link to the Memory Alpha page about the number 47 in the Star Trek verse. So thank you to our producer, Luzmi Madajaniwala, for helping us find that. We're so excited. And, I'm sure if you had some shenanigans, we'd love to hear about those in the chat. So many more things to talk about. But these were just some of the Star Trek shenanigans for season 4, episode 7, But to Connect.
Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 8 will return on February 10th, 2022. You can catch up on Discovery, maybe go back and do your own deep dives, or you can check out Lower Decks. or Star Trek Prodigy, or Picard, or the Star Trek shorts, or you could watch other Star Trek things.
Yes, yes, and we are back here at this episode number 39 for the Trek Table. At Signal Boost, we strive to hold space for Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color, and some of the resources that amplify and highlight the work of women of color content creators, community builders, and world shapers. Today happens to be a special little Signal Boost because the person we want to Signal Boost is our very own guest today. Super excited to congratulate family member of our show, Rose Portillo, on her engagement process with this little movie you might have heard of from Disney called Encanto.
So, for 2 years, I worked on developing the role of Abuela for Encanto. And animation takes a long time. And every day was joy. I'm very happy to say. In the film itself, I voice Senora Guzman. Um, and and there's something also really fabulous about the fact this story takes place in Colombia, and it is dealing with a family that had to flee a junta. And while it's not spoken, it's very clear animation wise that they are fleeing a junta. And this family develops magical powers, and their powers are to be in service for community. So they take care of their community. It's magical, it's fun, it's got the Disney stuff, but it's much deeper. And now also just watching the animation on Star Trek, it's these people are geniuses. The
Mm.
the the way they have to break stuff down. And so anyway, that's I could go on and on, but I it was joyful, and I hope you will see it.
Yes, and we're super excited for folks to check out Rose as Senora Guzman and all of the imprint work and all of that work. Thanks, Rose, for sharing that
Yeah.
with us. I think one of my moments on the show is like, I know there are lots of us who want to succeed in media. And it, as we wrestle with all these things, it's always amazing to see what individual folks are doing. So I just want to say thank you for that. To that point, audience, friends in our chats, podcast listeners, if you have a woman of color content creator that you think we should amplify, let us know. We're happy to do that. And that is our signal boost for episode 39 of the Trek Table. Thank you all so much for joining us for this second Holidaze episode of the Trek Table. We're actually episode 39 of the Trek Table. And as is the case in every week, we are going to close out this show just like we do, where we ask the table to go around and share their final thoughts on this episode, Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 7, But to Connect.
My final thought is I'm ready for the hiatus, right? Like if they were going to give me one where I can take a small break and rewatch all of the previous episodes of Discovery, then this is the perfect time to do that. Book is off. I enjoy the moments in between episodes where I get to guess what's going to happen and think about it. And there's a lot that could take place, so I'm excited about the next episode.
Thank you so much. Rose Portillo, as our guest today, thank you so much for being here with us, offering insights, bringing a different kind of depth with us today. I'm wondering your final thoughts about this episode.
So thank you. And there is Gray at a certain moment says, "It feels marvelous to be seen." And that thread for me in this episode was also really strong. And one of the most powerful things that a friend said to me in my life in a moment that was difficult was, "My wish for you is that you be seen." So my wish for everyone, for all of us, we all that's it's so important that we be seen.
Thank you so much. Maya Mama, I'm coming to you now. I'd love to hear your final thoughts about this complex and robust episode we just chunked into.
Well, I think this episode comes down to making a choice to either connect or to to separate yourself from the community. This was about connection and unity, and what they're going to do as a community together to protect one another. And I'm I'm very excited also to go back and rewatch these episodes and really dive into more of the story.
Thank you so much. And I will close out these final thoughts with a couple of my own. I want to say, first and foremost, I'm always honored and grateful to be in conversation with not only folks who are colleagues in the work that I do in different parts of my life, but also just the more, just our friendships have all deepened because of Star Trek. And I really appreciate that so much. And I want to just say that I am aware about how hard 2021 has felt and all of the things. I was reflecting about the turn in the year, and I was like, this is probably the first year in a long time where I have felt concern in a certain kind of way of not knowing what's going to come. And so my final thought is I think about what Burnham says in this episode. What can I control? The cat toy or the cat? And I just want to remind myself and remind all of us. I feel like the Trek Table team, our audiences, our folks who care about the world, who are doing the best they can right now to be out inspiring goodness, trying to create light, trying to be places of refuge, trying to just witness, trying to just rest, trying to just be. And I hope that as folks in this hiatus, as folks are caring for themselves, I will also try to practice this for myself and say, I need to ask myself more often, what can I really control? I can't keep getting mad at the cat. I can't control the cat. I can't control what anybody else does, but I can control what I do. Right. So yeah, and just advocating for all the rewatches because there's so many gems in Star Trek Discovery, and I'm so excited to spend this next hiatus really jumping back into the show, marinating on some stuff, and sharing some awesome new fun content that's going to come in the new year. Um, so yeah, all of that is bound up in my final thought about what can I control, and Burnham gives us this tool. Is it the cat toy or the cat? Mm-hmm. And those were our final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery, Season 4, Episode 7, But to Connect.
As Dayla announced earlier, Trek Table is excited to return to our live digital audience stream on Sunday, February 6, 2022, on the Trek Table YouTube channel. We'll be back and doing our own mid season recap and have some fun and fresh takes on what might be to come. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Trek Table YouTube channel, right now. Like now.
Thank you all so much for joining us at the Trek Table. Get first look at Trek Table questions, learn about our process, get the inside scoops on all the new material that's coming out in 2022, and more when you sign up for our newsletter at trektable.com.
And you can find recordings of Trek Table podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you are as happy as we are that Trek Table is holding space for Discovery and other Trek fans, then we invite you to share that joy with us and become a supporter at patreon.com/trektable. One-time donation or a monthly, $1, $5, $10. Let's keep this work going.
Like and subscribe to us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek_Table.
Yes, and finally, I would like to say thank you to our Trek table assembled here today. Thank you so much for holding down this the special holidays version of our ritual. So appreciate it. Thank you so much to Claudia Alick, Maia Mills-Low, our guest today, our friend and fam of show, Rose Portillo. Thank you so much. We also want to say thanks so much to the band Quetzal for all this amazing music that we get to hear and process with. We want to say thanks so much to this table for sharing thoughts and insights with us today. As we started today's episode, we were holding check space for Burnham and Book and their hashtag couple goals in front of all 60 Federation member planets and their guests, and that Zora was having dreams. We were holding check space for empathy for unexpected cat sitters. We're holding check space for being sure of your convictions, and of course, holding check space for trust issues. The Trek Table team is executive producers Alison De La Cruz, Luzviminda Jariwala, production coordinator Brandon Chang, and stream manager Ariana Michelle. Our social media manager is Cecile Borlasa, and our social media associate is Jimena Martinez.
Deep gratitude and thanks to Outside In Theater.
Thanks to Dr. Deborah Carr, Doc Zulu, and Nancy Yap, and our partners at Visual Communications. Thanks, Francis.
We would also like to say thank you to our content partners at Calling Up Justice.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
Yes, and as we gather one more time with all of these folks at our table, I just want to say thanks everybody for joining us for this episode 39 of the Trek Table. Let's close this ritual. Take one more big breath in. And exhale. And as we close out, I remind you that Sunday, February 6th on youtube.com/TrekTables where you can find us. And one last thing, happiest of happy belated birthdays to the legend, Michelle Nichols. Thank you so much. We're holding Trek space for you and everybody till then. Happy New Year. Have a great holiday.